Hey, it's Amanda from the 13th Floor Writers, and I'm here with the long-awaited wrap-up. Here are the books that we're going to be talking about today. I want to start with The Giver. This book is about a boy named Jonah who lives in the perfect world. Everyone has a job that they're assigned when they turn 12 years old. So there's a ceremony that all the children go to when they turn 12 years old, and they're told what their job is going to be for the rest of their lives. And they go and they do that job, and they have a family, but everything is so structured that no one has a say in anything. You can't have your own children, and you can't have more than 2 children, and you can't have 2 girls and you can't have 2 boys. So everybody has a husband and a wife, and they have a son and a daughter. The children come from women whose job is to make children. So they found that in this society, they feel that that's the best way to be, or to keep order, or to make it perfect. They were trying to make like this utopia where everyone will be happy. So at the ceremony when they're 12 years old, when Jonah gets his assignment is to be the next giver. There's only one giver in the entire community, and he's an elderly man, and he is on his way out. And so Jonah's job is to get all of the information that the giver has. The giver is just the only person who knows all of the secrets that the rest of the population don't know. They haven't seen colors. They don't know how things feel, emotions, real love and the truth about anything. They're just in the dark about real life and secluded. Jonah, when he gets assigned, he receives all this information, the previous giver. And so the giver touches him and transfers all of these memories and all of this knowledge to Jonah, and he has to keep it to himself. And he can't tell anyone. So just imagine being in that situation where you're the only person to ever experience the color red or the real feeling of love, and no one else knows what it is, and you can't even tell them. You have to keep it to yourself. So Jonah obviously starts to go through some things, and I don't want to give anything away, but the ending was absolutely not what I expected, but it was absolutely perfect. It was the best way to end the story. So this book is raved about. Everyone loves it, and for good reason. It deserves all of the praise that it gets. And it's meant for children. It's in the children's section of Barnes & Noble, but you need to pick it up. I don't care what age you are if you haven't read it. And if you have, just read it again, because I will. It's perfect, and it's so tiny, and it's amazing. I also read 1984. Are we sensing a theme here? So yeah, this is by George Orwell, and this is another book about a utopia that was created to control society and try to push the idea of a perfect world on a community of people who didn't know any better. Everyone has a job. Everyone is closely monitored. It's not the same as The Giver. The Giver was a little nicer. I mean, people were able to ride bikes and things. Here, it's not that way. You have to go to work. You can't socialize. You can't be intimate. You pretty much can't be a human being. They're forced to behave like robots and go to work and go home. The TVs in their apartments, which they're forced to have and forced to keep on, the government can watch you through the television, and you can't write your own thoughts down. You can't think. They want to prevent you from thinking. And this is another one that just blew me away, because first of all, it's very realistic. It scares you. You can really believe that this could happen to us. The way that conflict starts to rise in the novel, it really catches you by surprise, because it goes from being so subtle. Our protagonist starts to do things that he's not supposed to do, obviously. And what he's doing is just not that serious, and so you're like, okay, not so bad. And then he starts to get a little more risky, a little bit more, bold and brave, because he's not getting caught, and if we're not caught, we just keep going, right? So it doesn't end well. I won't give away the ending, but it just, it throws you for a loop, because I did not expect the ending the way that it happened. I did expect something bad to happen. I did expect for it not to go well for him, because you can't live in a society that's just so monitored and so stifling and get away with anything. So I expected for something to happen, but I did not see what happened. I didn't see it coming. It's such a good read. And so, yeah, you have to pick this one up. One that I read that I wanted to talk to you guys about was Damned. And I have to be honest, I couldn't finish it. Which is horrible, because I can't stand not finishing books. I always, even if I don't like it, I try to push through. Even if it takes me 2 months, I try to really push through. But I just couldn't. And this is the first book that I've ever read by him, and I'm not gonna say that I'm giving up on him. I will try another one. I heard that Choke is really good, and so I'll try that one. But this was just okay. So this is about, hell. There's a bunch of people who are trapped in hell because they all did something wrong, and they're in these cages, and there's these demons walking around, and there's fire, and it's hell, and they go through torture and pain and everything. But when you read the characters, it's almost like the author is pushing his, which we all do. I mean, all writers, express their own views through their characters and through their stories. We all try to get our point across and express our views and our values and our thoughts through our writing. But it just seemed like he was angry at certain stereotypical people, like, rich, prissy, entitled people, and he just gave us the most cookie cutter version of these characters that it just seemed so, it just pulled me completely out of the story. I couldn't even focus on what was going on, because all I could think about was him at the computer writing these characters out and what he was really thinking. Like, it really made me think, like, he is so angry at these people, these kinds of people. I wonder what they did to him. And I found myself thinking about that, like, what was it that made him so angry at these groups of people? It wasn't just rich people, it was other kinds of people who he believes belong in hell. And it pulled me out of the story so much that I couldn't even finish it. And I hate to say that, because I feel like writing is so laborious and it takes a lot of work, but I just couldn't finish it. I'm sorry. So I don't recommend this one. That's all I have to. I can't even tell you the whole plot, because I couldn't finish it. I have no idea what it's about, because the author's opinions were just too heavy-handed on this one, and I couldn't deal with it. So we go from hell to heaven. First Phone Call from Heaven, Mitch Albom. All of his books have something to do with heaven and spirituality, and I love him. I love Mitch Albom, because he has this unique style of writing that just, no matter what he's writing about, it makes you feel like at peace. Like, the world is brighter when you're reading a Mitch Albom book. It's great. It's about people in a small town who have lost loved ones, and they start receiving phone calls from these people who have passed on, and the people who have passed on are saying that they're calling from heaven, and it's their actual voices, and everyone is convinced that it's a miracle that's happening, and the religious community goes crazy. The church is packed. The small town gets packed with people, because everyone wants to be on this holy ground where they think this miracle is happening. And of course you have skeptics. They think that it's a big hoax. And so the whole time you're thinking, like, is it a hoax, or is it real? Or it is a very believable story with very believable characters. So you really get caught up in the mystery of it, in the investigation. Like, is this true? Are these people really getting phone calls from heaven? And if they're not, how can they possibly be getting these phone calls? Where are they coming from? And, like, who would do this, and why, and how could they even pull that off? There's a twist in the end, and it does pick up pace faster than it reads faster in the end. Once you get to the climax, it reads faster than most Mitch Albom books that I've read. And I believe I've read all of them. It's not my favorite Mitch Albom. My favorite is The 5 People You Meet in Heaven. But this is 2. This is number 2. This is the second. It's about spirituality. It has some mystery in it. It tugs at the heartstrings. It's family. It's, you know, everyone has lost someone. And if you haven't, you can imagine how people feel. The thought of losing someone you love just connects everyone to everyone else. And so this is a must read. I think I gave it 4 stars. Just because I read The 5 People You Meet in Heaven, and I know, and that book was better. So I just compared it because it's a Mitch Albom to Mitch Albom. It's a great book. It's a really good read, and I would definitely pick it up. I liked it. And we have Will Grayson. This is my 3rd John Green book. I read The Fault in Our Stars, which is everything. I mean, it is amazing. Then I read Looking for Alaska, which is my 2nd favorite John Green. And then I read this one, which happens to be my 3rd. Typical teen depression that John Green has such a handle on. He is the king of writing about teen emotion and depression and understanding what teens go through and capturing it on the page. This is a lot different than anything else that I've read from him, especially because David Levithan wrote this with him. And each of them had their own Will Grayson, and they interacted, which I think is really cool to read, really interesting. The only thing is that compared to the other books that I've read, I can't compare this to any other David Levithan books because I haven't read them, but compared to other John Green books, it's a little slow at times. There were a couple of times where I had to push through, but I did overall really like the book. My favorite character is a secondary character named Tiny, who is John Green's Will Grayson's best friend. And his name is Tiny, but he's actually very large and vivacious and flamboyant. And he's inspirational. I mean, he's so fun to read. And I was inspired by him. This book is worth picking up just because, well, for many other reasons. But if only Tiny, if this book was completely about Tiny, he would be totally worth picking this book up for. So yeah, I really recommend this one. I absolutely love anything that John Green writes, and I'm really excited to read more by David Levithan. So if you have any suggestions of what David Levithan book I should read next, please let me know in the comments. I really want to read something new by him. And then we have The Fifth Wave. I found out about this book on BookTube. Everyone said that it wasn't what they expected. Everyone told me that it was going to be about an alien apocalypse. But I did not expect what came out of this book. Earth is coming to an end, and these aliens, they come and they attack the Earth in waves, 5 waves. And one of them is disease. Another one is wiping out all the power, like an electrical outage everywhere. Another one is like a natural disaster. They're just ending life on Earth. The protagonist in this book makes it all the way to the end, to the 5th wave, and she's not the person who you would expect to be able to save the world from aliens. So you have no choice but to really feel for her. And, you know, because I don't think any of us think that we're, you know, the person who would save the world from an alien apocalypse. So you really kind of just are there with her. You understand everything that she is going through, all of the inner thoughts and the emotions and the choices that she has to make, because not only is she fighting the aliens, she's alone. She loses her family. She doesn't know who she can trust. She's just alone. And so she gets, there are these parts where you're like, oh my God, is that the right thing to do? What is she doing? You know, and you get a little nervous for her. But it's so entertaining. It's a fast read. It's really exciting the entire time. And it really draws you in, and it really makes you believe that an alien apocalypse could actually happen. Who knows, right? But yeah, it's really, really a great read. Obviously, everyone already knows that. You need to pick it up. See you guys later. Bye.